Welcome back to Artsy-Island-Girl. This card here was one of the cards that I was teaching the techniques in my Big Shot 101 or Big Shot for Beginners class, and I just figured I would put a video here showing exactly how it got put together for those that needed the extra help assembling it. So as taught in the class, I'm just going to die cut my oval here. I am using this particular die here. You could use any die that has some decoration to it, or even just a plain oval would work as well. And then these are the dies that I'm using for my flowers. I'll have them all listed down below. I'm going to run it through just because this particular one has a little bit of extra detail in there, and I want to make sure that it is going to come out of the die very easily. I'm going to use my tool-in-one. Picked out of the die super quick. For these guys here, the tool-in-one is your best friend. It's going to poke all those little bits out. Typically I do it right over top of a garbage can so that I don't have to pick up a whole bunch of pieces. But if you have an issue taking little bits out of dies, this, seriously, it's awesome. So I've got everything pre-cut, and we just need to assemble our card. I decided to do this card with a different base color, just to show you the difference. So first I'm going to start with my blue ink, and I'm going to ink around the edges. You could, if you wanted, die cut blue paper, or you could do the white here and then ink around the edges. The nice thing about inking around the edges is then you can get some darker areas and some lighter areas. Just creates a little bit more interest. These blending brushes are perfect for this. And I always start right off of my die cut and then blend onto it. And working on a glass mat makes it super easy because your brush glides right onto the paper. Now this particular card doesn't have a sentiment on it. I typically will leave my cards without sentiments until I'm actually going to use them, and then I will stamp a sentiment appropriate to whatever I'm using it for. That way I don't have a whole bunch of birthday cards and happen to need a sympathy or thinking of you or whatever and just don't have a card on hand. Almost there. There we go. And like I said before, I could go all the way to the middle if I wanted. Just making sure that this is in as much as that other side there. All right, good enough. Let's put that to the side. I am going to glue this to the front of my card. I'm just using Collage medium. I like using Collage medium for gluing bits on cards simply because it is a matte finish, so that if anything happens to seep through, it's going to dry clear and it's going to dry matte. You're never going to see it. And I typically eyeball things when I'm putting them onto the cards. There we go. Leave that to dry, and now let's color our die cuts. Now with the die cuts, you have to be a little bit more careful with the blending brushes just because the die cuts are a little bit more fragile and they tend to move a little bit while you're doing it. But what I like about using the blending brushes is you tend to get a little bit darker on the outside and then lighter on the inside, so it tends to give it a little bit of a natural shadow, which is just more interesting to look at. And you can see that I'm holding it close to where I'm actually blending the color on. I would never hold it up here and try to do this because I would have less control. Last one. This one I'm going to be slightly careful around the petals. If I get a little bit of green on there, I'm not too worried about it, but I am going to try to be a little bit careful so that I don't get too much. There we go. And my yellow. I'm going to be super careful and just do it with the corner of my brush. If you have a finger dauber, you can use that as well. That would give you a little bit more control. I don't mind if this goes onto my petals a little bit. If I wanted 100% control, I would use a marker and paint it that, or color it that way, so that I didn't have to worry about it going where I didn't want it to, but I don't mind it going onto the petals. I think it looks quite pretty. So now gluing the daisies on, I'm going to do my full daisy first. And then I'm going to glue these ones on. They're going to go over this stem here and right off the card, and it's going to hide the end of that stem. And you can see I don't put glue on the entire die cut. I typically will put it on the pieces that stick out. So like leaves, petals. And the nice thing about having nice thin stems on die cuts is you can tend to curve them however you like, just to make them look a little bit natural. You can't curve them too much, but you can curve them a little bit, and it just makes it, gives you a little bit more variety within your die cut, so you don't have several die cuts on your thing that look exactly the same. And this one, I'm just going to do it this way here. And then that bottom piece here, whoops. Typically I would wait until it's completely dry before I do this, but all I'm going to do is take my scissors and cut it. There we go. So there is my finished card there. Super simple to make, nice easy card, and it could go for pretty much any occasion, which is great to have on hand. So this one wants to keep popping up here, so I'm just going to weigh it down or hold it down to let it glue in place. But there you go. I'll see you in the next video. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you love this type of content.